No sooner had the Russians recovered from the appearance of the Flamingo ballistic missiles with the Ukrainian armed forces than the defense forces are preparing a new surprise for the occupiers.
Its range is thousands of kilometers. The payload exceeds 1,000 kilograms.
This is an unprecedented weapon, fully ready for use and just waiting for the right moment.
The explosives can vary depending on the assigned tasks.
Ukrainian engineers chose a rather gentle name for this giant, calling it Marychka. But believe me, after encountering it, all irony instantly disappears.
We are interested in the fleet that launches Kalibr-type cruise missiles.
This is the new underwater drone of the Ukrainian armed forces, which has already passed all tests and demonstrated phenomenal results. There have been talks about it for several years already, but this time the military are not keeping it a secret. They managed to surpass even the initial requirements, which now makes it possible to target even Putin's main pride, the Kerch Bridge.
If the Marychka can destroy it by using 3, 4 or 10 drones, and it doesn't cost us hundreds of billions of dollars, then of course, why not?
What is the most advanced and one of the most powerful underwater drones in Ukraine capable of? What operations is the military command already preparing for it? And how can the Marychka put an end to Russian missile attacks from the sea? We'll tell you all about it right now in the new episode of Arsenal. Its tests were first mentioned at the end of 2023. The Marychka kamikaze underwater drone is 6 meters long and 1 meter wide. And thanks to its rather large dimensions, it can carry a substantial explosive charge and strike even the largest targets.
It has a range of 1,000 kilometers. Its payload exceeds 1,000 kilograms. It travels at a speed of 10 kilometers per hour. It will approach the Crimean bridge very quietly and unnoticed.
The main feature of the new drone is its invisibility to enemy electronic warfare systems. It is also extremely difficult to detect visually or on radar, since the drone emits virtually no signal.
It uses an inertial navigation system, which allows it to remain undetected and have a long operational range. First of all is the material it is made from. This gives it stealth, and its slow-moving engines do not reveal that it is underwater.
Moreover, the Marychka can literally wait out danger. The technology used by our developers amazed the world when it was openly discussed. As it turned out, the drone can remain motionless in ambush for weeks and at the right moment make a dash and destroy its target.
It can stop at a certain point A, remain undetected for some time, stay in place, and then at any moment continue moving toward its target. Days, weeks, yes. Months, of course not. But for a certain period, it can remain undetected and stay in combat readiness.
This could be useful, for example, when preparing for another massive attack on Ukraine. For instance, several drones can be taken out to sea and left in standby mode. After receiving satellite data about Russian ships moving to launch points, the drones are sent out to intercept them.
We are interested in the fleet that launches Kalibr-type cruise missiles. We need to repeat this. Again, that's my opinion. The same thing that was done in Novorossiysk when the submarine was blown up, Varshavyanka, the Varshavyanka class. Yes, it didn't sink, but apparently it was put out of commission for a long time, with key components damaged. And this underwater drone, again, from what we know, since we don't know how it works in practice, can quietly approach Russian ships, military vessels that, for example, go out to sea to launch these missiles.
But under the threat of the latest Ukrainian weapon, not only ships at sea are at risk, but also all the frontline Black Sea infrastructure of the Russians, as well as repair shipyards and indeed any facilities located near the coastline.
They are actively striking at enemy ships, including both those on the surface and those lurking underwater. Furthermore, they are striking various coastal infrastructure, which involves effectively disrupting and neutralizing the enemy's logistics in this specific direction, particularly through the total destruction of key facilities of the Kerch Bridge.
Yes, you heard that right. Scaling up the production of the Marychka drone is essentially a death sentence for Putin's makeshift structures in the Black Sea. The previous strikes with Magura drones, which were incomparable in scale, will seem like child's play to the occupiers. After all, a ton of explosives will likely leave nothing alive of the much-vaunted bridge supports.
The question is, how long will it remain out of operation? In other words, it will be destroyed. Will it be just one support, or will the whole thing collapse like dominoes? If it collapses like dominoes, then that's it, really. That would be a real morale boost. A moral uplift for Ukraine, like, hooray, we did it. If it's just one support, then okay, they'll patch it up, fix it, and it will keep working.
Moreover, as they say, it's not being officially reported, but there are already signs. Just in February 2026, several serious incidents have already been recorded in the area of the overpass. For example, in the middle of the month, explosions were heard at night near Kerch and on the opposite shore of the Kerch Strait, and traffic on the Crimean bridge was temporarily halted. The following night, due to a drone attack, the bridge was closed for the entire night. 12.5 trains disrupted the schedules of the western section of Russian railways, and more than 700 cars were stuck in traffic jams. According to analysts, this indicates an active phase of reconnaissance before a potential strike.
As you are already aware, the illegally constructed Kerch Bridge, which connects the occupied Crimea with the territory of the aggressor country, with the territory of Russia, will soon be demolished. And you could find yourself in a kind of trap. That is precisely why I earnestly and strongly advise that you should urgently leave the peninsula and make your way back to your original homes, back to Russia, and to the specific places from which you illegally traveled to the currently occupied territory of Crimea.
However, experts say the bridge may not be the first target. Sailors, it is likely that at first the drone will still be used for military strategic purposes.
If previously the Crimean bridge was the only link, the single thread connecting Crimea with the Russian Federation, now they have a railway through the occupied territory around the Sea of Azov, and they have a highway. So even if we assume that the Crimean bridge collapses tomorrow, can we really say that the entire group there will die of hunger and cold? Well, that's not the case, because once again...
So first, Ukrainian sailors will probably go to get acquainted with the Russian fleet. Moreover, considering the range, the drone can cover the entire water area of the Black Sea.
The explosives can vary depending on the assigned tasks. The type of warhead is selected based on the target that needs to be hit. The payload is 1,000 kilograms. You can blow up a whole lot of interesting things with that.
And friends, of course, that's a separate topic. If we're talking about Asia, then of course I just can't help but remember China, which is slowly but surely absorbing all the Russian regions. Methodically.
The television report said, well, basically there is going to be a factory, plenty of new jobs. Here you go, take that, as they say. It's all China. All of this was done for China.
And naturally Turkey as well. Erdogan's position here is clear and understandable. Putin is simply obliged to return all temporarily occupied territories to Ukraine. Crimea is no exception.
Our support for the territorial integrity, sovereignty, and independence of Ukraine remains unwavering. The return of Crimea to Ukraine is a requirement of international law. And
also, friends, some insane chaos is happening in Russia itself right now. The New Year holidays are over, and Russians have kind of woken up to how much prices have gone up, and they really have gone up.
Well, friends, we're starting the new year 2026. What? That's right, Sugar. So my husband went to the store.
How much do you think all of this cost?
3,000. Three grand. Did you
even see that? Now, even chocolate is being hidden in the region for cases like this because prices have skyrocketed. Already 139 rubles. People are forced to steal.
Do you know what the record is here? It's that Putin put a VAT increase from 20% to 22% under the New Year's tree for Russians. And in general, Putin promised that prices wouldn't go up after this. Yeah, right.
I was just out shopping for work, and honestly, I was absolutely shocked by the prices. What used to cost before New Year's 250 to 300 rubles, now it's over 500.
You know, over there in their swamp of civilization, they have a finance minister named Sivanov, and he says it outright. All Russians, yes, 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 you too, you will be paying for Putin's war against Ukraine. You'll be taking money out of your own pockets to fund the war.
We need additional spending on defense and security. Today, this is our country's main priority. And in order to ensure the necessary resources, yes, we are currently adjusting the value-added tax.
By the way, Russians, you're probably expecting a salary increase in 2026. Well, you're so naive, forget about it. After all, you're at war with Ukraine. What money? The main thing is to defeat Ukraine.
Alexei Chekachev, managing partner of the HR agency A2AMN, shared a story about a factory with 2,000 employees in the Central Federal District. According to him, at the end of the year, the owners of the enterprise announced a freeze on salary indexation due to expensive loans and a spike in prices. Even though the company broke its record for production volume and increased its revenue. According to Chekachev, the model of tactical poverty is also used by one of the retail service chains to pay employees less. The Moscow Times.
Listen, don't worry about the money. Russians might not actually die of hunger, but from the cold.
The whole city has been freezing for 3 days now. Heating, electricity and water were shut off back on December 31st. At least we have a pool where we can get water, but everyone else is melting snow.
Yeah, it's a real snow apocalypse here. No time for empire building. And yes, people really are melting snow to survive. And the authorities, what about their leadership? They're looking for neo-Nazis. In Ukraine? What a clown.
A state of emergency was only declared on the second day, but no one tells us anything. No one informs us in any way. The emergency services don't tell us anything. They say, we don't know, just wait. And
this kind of chaos is happening all over Russia, from north to south.
In early January, let me remind you, several regions of Russia were literally paralyzed by the powerful cyclone Frenti, which caused flight delays at airports, car accidents, closures of federal highways, and problems with heating and electricity. And
this is the kind of chaos happening in Kamchatka, while the local authorities remain silent.
The snowfall in Kamchatka also broke the record for the past 30 years.
And now this is Moscow, somewhere near the Kremlin.
this is a snowfall that Moscow hasn't seen in the middle of winter for the past 56 years. Then
the snow falls gently from the sky, slowly covering the landscape in a thick white blanket of frost.
And you know what's the main thing about all this? It turns out that when it comes to the snowfall and the cold that hit Russia, do you know who's to blame? That's right, Ukraine. KFU with this nonsense. Some government officials believe that the bad weather and its consequences in southern Russia could be the result of the use of climate weapons. Obviously, such a large amount of precipitation can't just fall all at once for no reason. This was done to divert our resources to deal with the aftermath of the bad weather. It's amazing. In the middle of winter, laughter fell in Russia. What a surprise, that's never happened. Now the mayor of Moscow, Sobyanin, steps in. He says, give us more air defense systems. It's freezing. A cunning plan by Ukraine's forces. I think they've completely lost their minds over there, right?
Sergei Semyonovich requested additional air defense systems from the military to protect the capital. They promised to take care of everything. These are very difficult times, but we hope everything will be all right. This was the comment from a source close to the Moscow mayor regarding the situation.
And here's some more wild fun in Crimea, as always. The Crimean bridge was closed for the entire night. In Sevastopol, there were massive explosions near the Saki and Belbek airfields. By the way, things are absolutely insane in Crimea right now. The thing is, the few remaining fans of the Russian world who are still on the temporarily occupied peninsula, there aren't many of them, of course. Even they are in shock, because these Russian liberators are creating absolute horror and chaos on the peninsula, just like they did in Donbass.
Did we really vote for Russia? Just so that Russia would leave us without any means to survive? Why is the administration setting up our Russia with its actions, making people upset now? Ukraine gave us jobs, but under Russia we've been left without work. The actions they're taking, they're discrediting Russia itself. That's the issue. So it turns out 300 people are left in their old age, some in their old age. Well, just look, there aren't any 20-year-olds or 25-year-olds here. Everyone is between 40 and 60 years old. Where are we supposed to go? Who will hire us at this age?
But you know, I want to say that Crimeans still have little to complain about. Just look at what's happening in Russia itself, the most spiritual Russia.
This is a lesson in an ordinary school in Murmansk. There's no electricity, and the children are forced to study by flashlight.
We did not receive any of them.
We're studying by the soft, dim light of a candle.
Do you think people are sitting without power and water in the harsh Russian winter because of Ukrainian armed forces' drones? No, all this is happening because their president is Putin. It's that simple.
People found themselves on the brink of survival because 5 power line pylons collapsed 7 kilometers from Murmansk. A major accident happened due to improper maintenance.
To put it simply, Putin couldn't care less about what happens in the Russian hinterland. For him, the main thing is to liberate Ukraine from some imaginary Nazis, right?
This state of utilities management has been around since Soviet times. Wear and tear is at 60, 70, even 80%. In big cities, it's a bit less because money is allocated and invested there. Moscow is a separate region. It gets more funding.
Well, of course, more funds go to Moscow. After all, that's where the Kremlin is, that's where Putin sits, and you just sit there in your Murmansk and keep quiet. That's exactly the logic in the Kremlin.
But this is far from an isolated incident. For example, in December, there were already several accidents on the heating networks in the Altai region. During repairs, more than 500 apartment buildings were left without heating. The main cause of the emergency is the severe wear and tear of the heating networks. During these days, the air temperature dropped to minus 28 degrees.
By the way, the funny thing is that even in Putin's hometown, St. Petersburg, there's a collapse too.
In St. Petersburg, electricity went out at night in the Krasnogvardeyski district, and in the Krasnoselsky district, more than 20 buildings were left without heating due to an accident on a worn-out heating network. Some residents also lost hot water while it was below freezing outside.
But the most important part is coming up right now. Russians who are watching me, listen to this and draw your own conclusions about whom you chose as president.
To avoid such accidents in the housing and utilities sector, about 10 trillion rubles need to be invested in Russian infrastructure. That is exactly how much the Kremlin spent on financing the war in Ukraine in 2025.
Yeah, Putin's Russia is a real Mordor, and the worst for the swamps of civilization is only just beginning. That's all for today. Subscribe to the Nazi Bit Ukraine YouTube channel. Take care.